Jorah.
Jorah?
Jorah.
Joe?
Jady.
Josephine?
Jalissa.
Julius?
Joffy.
John?
Jun. Jan. Anyway, those are things that start with the letter J. Kudo points if you know that some of those aren't real words, that we just put J's in front of them. Anyway, welcome back to another on-time episode of By Its Cover with your host, Jacob Frederick and...
Katie Wright.
That's right. This podcast is a book review podcast. We pick out books by their cover, as in we don't know what the contents are, and then we consume them. Read them. Yep. Either via visual, audio, telepathy, touch. That's it.
Dreams?
Eat.
Do we consume them via our dreams?
I have dreamt about books. Anyway, we consume them.
We ingest the books.
We talk about them. We ingest.
We inhale the book.
Yes, we breathe them. I mean, I don't know about you, but libraries smell amazing. So
yeah, they do.
I could definitely huff some libraries.
This has gotten a little weird.
Anyway, that's the intro. So today's episode, we have a very special book. Mm-hmm. It is another picture book because I can't be bothered to read words. No, it's very cute.
Yeah.
I just had an epiphany, I guess, at the store. It says, comic books are books.
Yeah. Show me the cover.
So this is Beowulf. Beowulf.
Wolf.
I want to say Beowulf because it's cuter. This is Beowulf, and do you want to describe the cover?
Oh, sure.
The official sound of reach.
This is adorable. Okay, so is it a she or they? Okay, I don't want to assume.
Bay.
They.
Bay.
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 Huh? That's Bay.
Okay.
B-E-A.
So Bay's on the cover. She's wearing, it's very cartoonish, and she's wearing a flowered skirt with a belt, and she's wearing a hat that is a bear. Maybe it's even a bear skin, but maybe it's just a hat kind of like a bear. So it's like a bear head on top of her head.
Like a teddy bear.
Like a teddy bear, yep. Cape included. She looks upset. She is standing in a huge pile of gold things. Although when I look closer at the gold things, it's like gold donuts and cupcakes and toy cars and all sorts of goofy gold things. And then surrounded at her feet, she's surrounded by stuffed animals. So like bears and lions. I don't see a tiger. There's an octopus, a dog, maybe a fish. I'm not sure. But her feet, surrounding her feet, are stuffed animals, and it looks adorable. Did you read the back or the insert?
Not when I picked it out, no.
Okay. Did you read that after?
No.
Okay, I'm going to give it back to you.
Okay. Official sound of reach. I picked this book up. Oh, Lemony Snicket reviewed this. I didn't even read that part. I saw the cute, and I was sold.
Yeah.
And it said Beowulf, and I thought, I'm never going to learn Old English to read Beowulf.
Yeah.
I watched a movie that was kind of weird about Beowulf, so I thought, let me give it another try, because this story has inspired thousands of authors and storytellers. It's one of the, if you talk about Stephen King and the root of fantasy through the book that we read, what was that book called?
Fairy Tale.
Fairy Tale. It sort of talks about Beowulf in there.
Yep.
Anyway, it was super cute, so I just grabbed it.
Cool.
Yeah, and it was actually in an entirely different section than Scorch, Hedgehog of Doom.
I mean, I imagine that Scorch Hedgehog of Doom was in the children's book section.
I have no idea.
What section was Beowulf in?
A different section. I don't know.
You're like, I walked over to this other place and...
Yeah, the way that
and
I
there
look
were
at
more books.
Yeah, exactly. The way that I look at bookstores, I go in. I look around. I pick out a book.
Yes.
And then I read the book after I buy it.
There you go.
Yeah. And, and this brings up a really valid point. We were in a bookstore recently, and they had Slewfoot in the horror section. Right.
And I was like, Jake, look, it's horror.
As we all know, Slewfoot, except for maybe a couple of our Puritan listeners, is not a horror book.
It is.
It is dark fantasy.
No.
Or comedy.
No.
I think of it more as triumphant than I do horror.
I think of it as revenge horror.
Revenge triumphants. Triumphant should be its own section. So anyway, amongst discussion around where books should be in the bookstore, come to find out it's a giant scam. And bookstore owners just put books wherever they feel like. Which, honestly, that's the only way to do it. Yeah. So, what was that?
What the fuck? I have Do Not Disturb turned on.
That's great. Calendar invite for all of you to listen to our next episode. And to check out our Patreon.
We forgot about that.
For $5 a month, you can get on-time episodes of By Its Cover.
No.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't
on
matter.
time.
On time.
That's
whenever
right.
we want them to go
That's
out.
correct. You are...
at our mercy.
At our mercy. Yeah, you want to be entertained? You better be entertained when we say you're entertained. Anyway, so Beowulf is super cute. And I'm actually going to open it up because the illustration is amazing.
Okay.
The author is, Weinersmith Bullet. And I don't know who the illustrator is. Actually, it doesn't say the illustrator here. Maybe illustrator author combo? Question mark? Nope. Illustrations by Gillis Russell.
Okay.
All rights reserved. Anyway, this is a super, super cute book. It starts out, and I'm going to get into it now.
That looks like a graphic novel.
This is a book. So it starts out with King Carl.
Okay.
And Carl is a king before he has a nation.
Okay.
And stumbles upon a bountiful riches. Gold and everything, right? Mm-hmm. Lots of gold. And, all of the adults are telling Carl that he needs to save that money for college.
That's not in there. Is it really in there?
Yes. And Carl says, nay. I'm going to found a nation for my age group, which is children.
Okay.
They all are toddler age, I think, between 5 and 12. Which is
Because that's toddler?
Yep.
Oh my God.
And so King Carl was a great king.
Yeah.
He didn't hoard the money, right? He bought toys and candy and sodas and sugar and donuts and everything, right? Mm-hmm. Basically, things that kids love. And he founded a nation. And all the kids loved him. They treated him like a king. But like all things, Carl starts to age.
Yeah.
And he determines that he's no longer fit to be king of children.
Okay.
He starts to grow mustache hairs, right? Starts to get awkward and smell bad. And so he says, the nation is over. Let's burn all the toys, right? I'm going to go get a job. So Carl gets a job.
Just the combination here of kings and nations and gold or whatever intertwined with you should go to college and save that money and I'm going to go get a job now is so funny to me.
It is. Yeah, it's basically term limits.
It's hysterical.
Yeah. So anyway, it says here, Carl was seen many years later in teen lands, sacking groceries, gaining job skills.
Yeah.
But he always had the memories of his ruffian youth. Then the book, just like Numbers, goes through the different kings and queens of the child lands, right? It goes Sally to Mo, and Mo to, I don't know how to say that name, and that name to Dave, to Ada, right? And eventually it ends up on King Roger.
Okay.
And that's where sort of the next story sort of picks up, where King Roger is a architect.
Okay.
King Roger instructs the kids, designs a treehouse. And he's seen as a great king.
Okay.
Because he moved sort of a nomadic kingdom or nation into a castle. Right?
Uh-huh.
They still are living on the riches of Carl. Carl founded this, his riches were kept within the nation.
Okay.
King over king, right? Everything is fine. King Roger comes in and builds a treehouse castle.
Okay.
And there's cakes, and there's sodas, and there's toys, and there's late nights, and there's no homework, right?
Yes.
It's the perfect kingdom. Until we get to Grindle. Grindle is the villain.
Okay.
Grindle is a joy-sucking person. He's an adult.
Okay.
Sort of shaped like the guy from Minions.
I never saw those movies.
Who is the owner of the Minions? Steve Carell. Sort of shaped like Steve Carell and Minions. So, Grindle is just, you can tell by the way that he is, that he doesn't enjoy, this is the kind of guy that likes spreadsheets. Like really in-depth spreadsheets. Like he must be an accountant, right? Mm-hmm. Which doesn't say anything about human accountants because we all know that they're fun-loving drunks. But Grindle is the storybook accountant, right? He loves taxes, which says something about his personality. And so Grindle, as sort of the antagonist
I
of the
just
story.
want to say, one day I would like you to just sit down and read me a story.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
This is so funny.
Oh, he likes HOAs too, so we know that he's the devil. So anyway, Grindle has a superpower. Anything he touches becomes old and boring. And if you can imagine, to a nation of children, this is the worst possible villain. Right? And Grindle lives right next door to Roger's kingdom castle treehouse.
Uh-huh.
And Grindle decides that with a touch, he is going to change that nation. And so he goes up, he climbs up the tower at night after being repelled a few times, and he starts to touch the children in the head. And they all immediately grow old and become doctors, accountants, developers, whatever.
He basically just comes in and puts his finger on their forehead.
It's an amazing power. Yeah.
Okay.
He destroys the nation in one night. And Grindle defends the castle now at this point, right?
Right.
Kind of like a dragon.
Right.
Where he makes sure that no one can enter. Anyone that enters becomes old, right? He cleans the entire castle or treehouse.
Yes.
Right, so it's spick and span, and there's plastic on the furniture, and there's no sugary drinks, and all of the fun that was had, or that can be had in the treehouse now, is education fun. Fun with math, fun with words. Which, as a 12-year-old, I relate to, that's not fun, that's freaking homework. Right?
Yeah.
Grindle disagrees. Grindle thinks that's the best thing. So Roger is dethroned, basically.
Okay.
Grindle doesn't touch the throne, but Roger has no kingdom, so is he still a king? And it goes on where, you know, the nation is lost, the kids are lost, there's no more candy, they start doing homework, they start going to school, they start having bedtimes, right? Basically, they turn into old kids.
Right.
Then we're introduced to Beowulf. And Beowulf is from another kid nation. And
I love this so much.
yeah, it's great. Beowulf, I'll just start calling her Bea.
Okay.
Bea fought. She earned her title by fighting for 1 week in a lake full of sea monsters. And she fought some other queen, and they were friends, but they played water dodgeball together, and then the teenagers came, and so she fought sea monsters and teenagers for 5 days straight without any sleep. And Bea's strength is in her muscles.
Okay.
Right? She could throw a dodgeball that'll knock a teenager out.
Okay.
Or a sea monster. In fact, she threw the dodgeball so hard that the opposing queen that she was battling, who was also her friend, was launched miles away. And so,
so cute.
Roger apparently helped the other nation when he was younger, before he was king.
Okay.
Or when he was king, right?
Helped
Bea's nation.
Okay.
And that queen decided that if ever Roger was in need of help, that queen would send that help. And here's Bea.
Okay.
Right? And there's a separate story in here, a short story I want to tell you about, but we'll go there later.
Okay.
So Bea goes and meets with Roger and says, "Hey, I am Beowulf. I'm sent by this other kingdom. I'm here to help you with Grindle. And Roger's just depressed. He says, there's no helping me with Grindle. Right? Grindle is all powerful. You'll never be able to beat him, right? And so Bea says, you know what? We're going to do this anyway. I am going to beat Grindle, and whether or not you believe me is your own choice.
Yeah.
Roger believes her because they're kids.
Yeah.
He puts the throne on Bea's head, or the crown on Bea's head, and said, you are now the queen of this kingdom.
Okay.
For tonight. And
Was it all kings prior to that?
No, kings and queens.
Okay.
Yeah. All tyrants.
Okay.
So Bea decides that she's going to bait Grindle out of his lair by having a party in the treehouse. So they have a huge, massive party. They've got sodas and donuts and candies and toys and no bedtimes and loud music and whatever, right? Just totally going to town. And Grindle is upset. So Grindle gets his finger and he climbs up the ladder to see what's going on. And he starts to poke children in the head. And Bea, who is the only one that's asleep, right? Surprise attack Grindle. She comes out with her teddy bear cape on and she grabs Grindle by the arms, protecting her from his fingers.
Yes.
And pulls his arms behind his back, and there's a epic battle where he is able to pull her off, but she grabs him by the tie, and the tie breaks. And the tie was the source of his power.
Oh, shit.
Yep.
Okay.
And so Grindle becomes
Fun?
a child. Yep. Grindle becomes a child, and, basically Bea has thus saved the kingdom.
Right.
Right?
Is he happy about this?
Grindle?
Yeah,
he's
he
a
happy
kid
now that he's a child?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's fine now that he's a child. They could sort of stop talking about him because he's not the villain anymore.
Okay.
Right. They show a really cute picture of Grindle.
Fade out.
Grindle is a child, and they're like, cute. And then you move on, where King Roger now is sort of rewarding Bea.
Right.
With candies and French fries and whatever, toys. Everything of value to children. They sing songs for Bea, basically like honoring her. King Roger goes back to being king, and sort of things return back to normal in the kingdom. That is until it sort of alludes to Grindle's mother being the true villain.
So is there going to be a second one?
I don't know. I didn't read the original Beowulf, but I will say I would love there to be another one.
Right.
Yeah. Sidebar, there's sort of an embedded short story here about how the kids decide that they're going to free some puppies.
Okay.
So someone tells, this is what it was. Sorry. The way that King Roger helped the other nation was that other nation was going to free some puppies from imprisonment in a barn.
Okay.
Cute, loving puppies are in prison, right? So they go there and they break the lock using a sword that was invented before safety standards. And and when they break the door, a bunch of pigs come out. And they realize, these are not puppies, these are pigs. And the farmer comes out of his house in his underwear.
Right.
He's like, what are you doing to my farm? Like my pigs, right? So they run away, and they're trying to figure out how to get away because they're going to all get grounded.
Oh, yeah.
So King Roger has tunnels built underneath the farm. And so King Roger puts them into safety. They come up with a plan to put the pigs back.
Yeah.
They steal their table vegetables from dinner instead of eating them, right? So they steal broccoli and carrots and beets. And they start to hoard it inside the barn, right?
Yes.
And their plan works. Like King Roger helps them get all the pigs back into the barn. And the farmer, I guess, now has more pigs than he originally had. And he decides to retire in Florida.
Of course.
Of course. So, but that's how sort of that other nation said, we'll reward you, right?
That's
if
cute.
you ever need help. Which is super, super cute.
Oh my goodness.
And the back of this book is really cool because they actually turn it into sort of a little bit of an acknowledgement of the original Beowulf.
Oh, okay.
They talk about Old English, but it's written in a way that people with short attention spans, like anyone on the internet, can understand.
Yeah.
So it's full of memes and stuff, which is great. It really helped me understand what Beowulf was.
Yeah.
And the origins of it and why there's so much fuss about it, right? sort of talks about the Noel Codex and all of that, which is a combination of stories never created before until this time. And then they translated it and all that other stuff. But this is so great.
What was your favorite part of this book?
I think besides the story as a whole,
Yeah.
right, turning some boring old English like fantasy story into a children's, like a book about kids, right?
Yeah.
Making it still factually correct and accurate. I would say Bea was my favorite character, and I liked anywhere that Bea was a part of because Bea was epic. The battle in the water was epic. Right?
Yeah.
The battle against Grindle was epic. Like, this is the main character.
Right.
She showed up.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
So
awesome.
that was my favorite part.
I can't wait to read it.
Yeah, it's amazing. You should read this. I'm going to leave it here for you.
I actually don't know if I read Beowulf either.
I don't know if you speak Old English, so you couldn't have read Beowulf.
Okay. But wasn't it like
You can read a translation of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, maybe that's what I'm...
And there's cute pictures in the back of like...
Let me see.
There's baby Grendel.
Oh,
There's Grendel's mother.
so cute.
Yeah. King Roger. So anyway.
So who would you recommend this book to?
Ooh, good question. Any literary major.
Okay.
Like if you're in college and you're studying literarians.
Literature.
Yep, literature. I would recommend that you read this book because I imagine that you're super depressed reading all this old English crap and you want something that's fresh, and this is fresh.
All right. It's such an interesting perspective on literature majors.
I mean, think about it from the perspective of King Roger, right? Colleges touch students like Grindle,
Yeah.
and Bea is trying to save you from Grindle, the college. So get a little fresh breath of air with Bea.
The whole concept's hilarious.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's super cute, very unique.
it is.
Yeah, I see picture books in my future.
Yeah. You don't say.
I don't say. Yeah, and I definitely like that this wasn't... I have a hard time like picking up manga and
Yeah.
reading like comic books or manga or something because
Yeah.
they're so short.
Yeah.
This took me like 2 hours to read
Okay.
and enjoy the illustration, which felt like it was worth the 1995 US, 1999 US, 26.99 Canadian.
Oh, okay.
Made it feel worth that 19.99 US.
For a second there, I thought you were talking about the year, and then when you said Canadian, I was like, wait.
No, money.
Money.
Yeah.
Yep.
When did this book come out, actually? I think this is a new book.
There was a time where I read a good deal of graphic novels, and I like those for the same reason. Like, I would get these comic books, and they were beautifully illustrated, but they would be so short.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
2023 is when this book came out.
Okay, so very fresh.
Yeah. And, by the way, mad respect to this author because they genuinely did a ton of research
Yeah.
to make this book. They talk about reading Old English, reading multiple versions by multiple authors of Beowulf, right?
Yeah.
And different understandings of it. And it talks about J.R.R. Tolkien.
Yep.
Obviously, they did research on J.R.R. Tolkien because it talks about how Beowulf basically founded Middle-earth, right? Founded that whole universe and inspired J.R.R. Tolkien to create languages, right? So,
That's so cool.
yeah.
I love that you picked that out.
Yeah, I do too. It's sort of, ever since we read fantasy,
Fairy tale?
fairy tale. Ever since we read fairy tale, I've been thinking, okay, I want to read some of those books that Stephen King mentions, right?
Yeah.
And so this sort of is, what's the next turtle down in the list, right? Yeah. Where does the very first turtle that founded
cool.
fantasy, right?
That's a cool goal.
Yeah. So I think this is one step in the wrong direction. Because it is yet another displaced turtle, right? From the origin, but it's related to one of the origin stories.
Yeah.
Right? And it mentions the Noel Codex, which might be the origin, right? Yeah.
Never heard of that.
I am Indiana Jones on the search for the Codex.
The original story. For some reason, that just reminded me of Deadpool.
That was a good movie.
Yep. There was I think I was telling you a couple weeks ago that like I read this series of Deadpool comics, and it was a series of 3, and the first one was like, Deadpool realizes that he is in a comic book or something and he doesn't want to be, and so he basically goes on this adventure to kill all the stories because he tries to kill him, like he tries to erase himself as a character, but in order to do that he realizes he has to go kill all of the literary history. And so then he's in scenes with like Moby Dick and like all these other stories, just killing everything, and then everything turns into Deadpool, and it's just hilarious. And that reminds me of that, like that deep dive into literary history.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did your phone actually go off? I didn't hear it.
No. It didn't go off.
Okay.
I'm preparing for something.
Well, now I'm curious. What are you preparing for?
Thank you, everyone, for listening to today's episode. Our next episode, which is going to be also on time, is Everything My Mother Taught Me by Alice Hoffman.
Okay.
And I was looking up the author of the book because I couldn't remember.
Yeah, I was going to look that up too.
Yeah.
Smart.
I wasn't intending to be rude. I was actually listening.
I actually thought that your phone went off and I didn't hear it.
No, I don't know if the phone makes noise because when people call me, it doesn't ring. And actually, this is a funny story, a bit of a sidebar. I thought that everyone that called me that appeared red was spam, even if they were in my contact list. Genuinely. And so when people would call me and they would show up as red because I didn't answer, which means missed call, by the way.
Right.
I thought they were spam. So I thought people were actually not calling me, which was fine. You don't have to call me.
It goes into this whole thing about not liking being on the phone.
Yeah.
And people calling you. Oh my gosh.
I thought for years spammers are spoofing my mother's phone number, right? Nope, she was actually calling me. Why did I never call her back? Because obviously a scammer was trying to call me, right?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's a hoot.
So anyway, I think that's pretty much it for this episode. Next episode, we're going to have a great one for you.
Yep.
I hope everyone has a great day. And
this one is a listener requested.
we'll get into that next week.
Yeah.
All right, bye.
Bye.